Like, let's really talk about it. Y'all don't have an issue how, like, every time the discussion of abortion comes up, they're always saying, like, black women will die if they don't have access to abortion. We're the same black women that were giving births on slave ships, like, in the most deplorable conditions you and I can't even imagine. And now with today's modern medicine, we need abortion more because giving birth is more dangerous for us.
She looked familiar. I last saw her getting a shake at Chick-fil-A, I think. You know that peach milkshake is back? I love it. I'm doing better though. It's only in the summertime and I'm boycotting them. I can't remember the latest infraction, but anyway.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Perhaps you remember MAGA operative Michaelah Montgomery, Trump's random Chick-fil-A. I love you, Mr. Trump. She's the random customer that ran up to, and he then used, I'm sure, hand sanitizer. That random Chick-fil-A customer is back, implying that because enslaved women survived giving birth on slave ships, did they? A lot of people got thrown into the water. Black women don't need to be concerned about surviving pregnancy today. So she just wants to discount all the Black mortality rates. They're worse than third world countries in some cases. Patriot takes notes. We'd remember Montgomery from these events. See, so she pops up often. Look at Trump. He's turning away from her in the first slide. And then I don't even know if that's him in the second slide. It could be a cutout. It could be a cutout. We want to check on that. And then the church. Remember, he was at the Black church and this was such a successful event, but there weren't many Black people there. He showed up at the church in Detroit and where are the Blacks? They're not there. So let's tell you more about what really happened because actually history does matter. The Middle Passage of the Atlantic slave trade carried recently enslaved men, women, and children from the west coast of Africa to the colonies in the Americas. Records indicate that over 2 million people were forcibly transported across the Atlantic between 1500 and 1700. Only 1.7 million survived the journey. New York Historical Society. The Spanish were the most prolific enslavers during this period. Approximately 266,000 enslaved people were brought to the Spanish colonies during this time. By the time the Atlantic slave trade was abolished in the United States in 1808, an estimated 12 million enslaved people had been forcibly taken to the Americas. The horrors of the Middle Passage are well documented. Cramped conditions, lack of food and water, widespread disease, abuse at the hands of captors all led to a high mortality rate. But traditional historical narratives tend to leave out the specific horrors faced by female captives, women and girls, by crew members, also from the New York Historical Society. You're going to run and tell it all. If you're going to run and tell it all. Michaelah, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Pregnant women received no medical care. Most women who went into labor aboard slave ships died. Mothers of young children had to ensure not only their own survival, but also that of their children, only to be separated at the slave markets when they were sold to different buyers. What are you worried about? This is what we're worried about. New CDC data revealed in May that while a U.S. maternal mortality rate declined, disparities remain. Despite the recent decline in the U.S. maternal mortality rate, the new report said that in 2022, the maternal death rate for Black women was still higher than for other women. The rate among Black women, 49.5 deaths per 100,000 live births compared to 19 deaths per 100,000 for white women, 16.9. Same amount for Hispanic women out of 100,000. 13.2 per 100,000 for Asian women. CNN with the data. Another fool, Mayor. An outlandish, disrespectful fool. And it makes it all the worse to me. And I don't know that it should anymore. There's so much foolishness around us. This Black woman who is still doing the bidding for disgusting anti-truth seekers. This Black woman is still doing their bidding. Maybe I shouldn't be so disgusted. At this point, I guess I should expect it. Mayor, what say you?
First of all, I think the article said like 2 million Black people were shipped across, and it's more 12.7, and 10 million, 10.1 million survived. So let's be clear. That number alone tells her that childbirth and the number of people who died in that passage is nothing to joke about. Her invoking the ancestors, those who survived, gave birth, or did not give birth on slave ships to prove a political point that she's actually screwing up is dumb. It is not just that Black women die when they don't have access to abortion. It's the other medical procedures that are provided at the same clinics where people get abortion. And abortions are less than 20% of what those service providers actually doing. This is why people talk about Planned Parenthood and they're not talking about the other services that people are actually benefiting from, right? You want to worry about family planning and preventing abortions? The best way to do that is to have people that have access to, contraception. Guess what we know now? In the states in the South that have since they eliminated Roe v. Wade at the Supreme Court level, what we've seen is a downtick in people taking contraceptive, which means eventually we're going to have an increase in the number of people having kids that they're not prepared to have. So this woman playing games with the lives of Black women just to get in a comfortable space with Donald Trump, even when he's still going to think of you as less than, is absolutely disgusting. And those same ancestors that she invoked will be waiting for her ass on the other side.
Yep. And I have no reporting on what or if she was paid for this, but I'm not stupid. I'm a journalist and I can deduce certain things. Whatever I think she may have gotten, it's, first of all, it'd never be enough for me. But to make this kind of an ignoramus of yourself is disgusting to me. It is so hurtful. Look to the right, look to the left, and you're, like you said, the ancestors are waiting for her, but there's some of us who are right here. And I don't even want to look at you. I don't know how you can stomach looking at me. You know what you've done. And I have my suspicions as to why. Sick.